How often do you think about the Roman Empire? If you're anything like the rest of the internet, it's probably a lot. But how did a tiny, muddy farming village on the banks of the Tiber River transform into an absolute geopolitical juggernaut that ruled over 20% of the global population? Rome didn't just build roads, aqueducts, and colosseums. They invented the very blueprint of Western civilization, packed with non-stop political backstabbing, massive egos, and epic military campaigns. Today, we are taking a breathless, hyper-engaging journey through the complete history of Rome. We'll cover everything from its mythological, wolf-raised beginnings to its spectacular flaming collapse. Grab your tunics and sharpen your swords, because this is the wild, bloody, and completely unfiltered story of the ultimate superpower. The wolf-suckled foundations of Rome. Long before Rome was a glittering marble metropolis, it was just a chaotic cluster of mud huts populated by outlaws and runaway slaves. According to ancient Roman mythology, the city was founded in 753 BC by twin brothers named Romulus and Remus. The legend goes that an evil king threw the babies into the Tiber River to drown, but they were miraculously rescued by a fierce she-wolf who nursed them back to health. The boys grew up to be ruthless warriors, but when it came time to build their new city, they got into a massive, petty argument over where to put the walls. Romulus ended up brutally murdering his own brother, naming the city after himself, and establishing a kingdom based on pure, unadulterated grit. The Republic and the hatred of kings. For its first 2.5 centuries, Rome was ruled by 7 successive kings. But the final king, Tarquin the Proud, was such a tyrannical, abusive nightmare that the furious Roman citizens rose up in open rebellion and kicked him out of town in 509 BC. Vowing to never let a single man hold absolute power ever again, they invented a revolutionary new system of government, the Roman Republic. Power was split between 2 elected leaders called consuls and a powerful council of wealthy elders known as the Senate. This brilliant early democracy was fueled by a fierce, near-fanatical hatred of kings. A cultural obsession that would drive Roman politics, laws, and military expansions for the next 5 centuries of their history, crushing Carthage and dominating the sea. As the Republic grew stronger, it inevitably ran into a massive, hyper-wealthy rival across the Mediterranean Sea, the superpower of Carthage. This sparked the Punic Wars, a century-long apocalyptic trilogy of conflicts that pushed Rome to its absolute biological limits. Carthage unleashed their genius military commander, Hannibal Barca, who famously marched an army of war elephants right over the freezing Alps to slaughter Roman legions on their own soil. Rome suffered staggering, near-fatal losses, but they refused to ever surrender. They adapted, built a massive navy from scratch, and ultimately countersued Carthage into oblivion. In 146 BC, Rome completely wiped Carthage off the map, salted the earth so nothing would ever grow, and claimed total dominance over the Mediterranean. The rise and bloody fall of Caesar. By the 1st century BC, Rome's spectacular military success became its ultimate political undoing. Ruthless generals became vastly more powerful than the Senate itself, commanding armies that were fiercely loyal to their pockets rather than the Republic. The most brilliant and ambitious of them all was Julius Caesar. After conquering Gaul and winning a brutal civil war, Caesar marched his battle-hardened legions right across the Rubicon River and declared himself dictator for life. Terrified that the old republic was dying and a monarchy was returning, a desperate group of senators, led by Caesar's close friend Brutus, pulled out hidden daggers and stabbed him 23 times right on the Senate floor. They thought they were saving democracy, but they actually triggered total chaos. Pax Romana and the Golden Age. The bloody assassination of Julius Caesar didn't save the Republic. It ignited a massive, fiery civil war that completely incinerated it. Emerging from the ashes was Caesar's brilliant adopted son, Octavian, who cleverly outmaneuvered his rivals, claimed absolute power and renamed himself Augustus, the very first emperor of Rome. This monumental shift kicked off the legendary Pax Romana, a 200-year golden age of relative peace, unprecedented economic prosperity, and staggering architectural achievement. Rome expanded its borders from the rainy hills of Scotland all the way to the sunny deserts of Egypt. They constructed flawless paved highways, massive concrete aqueducts that moved millions of gallons of water daily, and grand monuments like the Colosseum, turning Rome into the undisputed capital of the ancient world. The mad emperors and Colosseum chaos. But absolute power corrupts absolutely, and the Roman throne eventually attracted some of the most spectacular lunatics in human history. There was Caligula, a deeply unhinged ruler who allegedly tried to appoint his favorite horse as a high-ranking government consul and ordered his soldiers to violently stab the ocean waves to declare war on the sea god Neptune. Then came Nero, who executed his own mother, persecuted early Christians with horrific cruelty, and supposedly sang songs while a massive, catastrophic fire burned Rome to the ground. To distract the angry, starving public from their absolute madness, these emperors hosted lavish, blood-soaked gladiator games inside the Colosseum, offering free bread and violent spectacles to keep the masses pacified and entertained. The crisis that almost ended it all. By the 3rd century CE, the Roman engine began to violently sputter and smoke. Rome plunged into a 50-year nightmare known as the crisis of the 3rd century. The empire was hit by a devastating trifecta of chaos: relentless barbarian invasions from the north, a civil war that saw over 26 different emperors claim the throne in just 5 decades, and a hyperinflation economic collapse that made Roman currency completely worthless. The empire literally fractured into 3 competing, breakaway states, and civilization stood on the absolute brink of total collapse. It was only saved by a series of tough, no-nonsense soldier emperors who marched across the fractured territory, violently hammered the borders back together, and kept the Roman dream alive for a little longer, splitting the empire and chasing the cross. Realizing the massive empire was simply too enormous for a single person to govern effectively, Emperor Diocletian made the radical decision to split Rome into 2 distinct halves: the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. Shortly after, Emperor Constantine made 2 world-altering decisions that changed history forever. First, he officially legalized and converted to Christianity, transforming a once persecuted underground movement into the dominant religion of the empire. Second, he moved the entire imperial capital away from the ancient city of Rome to a glittering, strategic new metropolis in the east called Constantinople. While the east flourished with trade and immense wealth, the abandoned west was left exposed, broke, and incredibly vulnerable to the chaos heading its way. The flaming fall of the West. By the 5th century CE, the Western Roman Empire was a walking corpse. Its economy was completely bankrupt, its political institutions were thoroughly corrupt, and its military was heavily reliant on unreliable mercenary soldiers. Waves of displaced barbarian tribes, running away from the terrifying Huns, began pouring across the borders. In 410 CE, the Visigoths did the unthinkable. They breached the walls and ruthlessly sacked the sacred city of Rome. The final poetic blow landed in 476 CE, when a Germanic warlord named Odoacer marched into Ravenna. Casually deposed the last Western emperor, a helpless teenage boy ironically named Romulus Augustulus, and sent the imperial crown to Constantinople, ending the Western Empire forever. The 1,000-year Eastern sequel. But here is the ultimate plot twist that history textbooks love to overlook. The Roman Empire didn't actually end in 476 CE. While the western half dissolved into the Dark Ages of Europe, the eastern half, which modern historians call the Byzantine Empire, survived and absolutely thrived for another full 1,000 years. Operating out of the magnificent, heavily fortified city of Constantinople, these Eastern citizens still proudly called themselves Romans, spoke Greek, preserved Roman law, and built architectural wonders like the Hagia Sophia. This incredibly resilient, high-tech Christian empire acted as a massive shield for Europe until 1453, when the Ottoman Empire finally breached their legendary walls with gunpowder cannons, closing the final chapter on ancient Rome. Every time you drive on a paved highway, look at a dome, or vote in a republic, you are actively participating in the living legacy of ancient Rome. If this massive, breathless journey through imperial history kept you hooked until the very end, make sure to hit that subscribe button, slam the like icon, and drop a comment below telling me who your favorite Roman emperor is. Thanks for watching, and Roma Invicta.